Howdy doody everybody, my name is KevGuuey and welcome back to Musicus.
大丈夫ですか？何か言われたりしたんですか？
Ozaki-san looked at me with worry. No, nothing really. That was all I could say. It was clear that he didn't think highly of me, but we hadn't spoken enough with each other that I could guess the reason. Even that interaction just now was more than we had had the whole year. Well, it was possible to get on people's bad sides before you even knew. Maybe it was something like that. I sighed. Well, let's go. A motion for us to get moving. Ozaki-san suddenly crouched down and picked something up.
これ、なんだろう？
She had a triangular piece of flat plastic between her thumb and forefinger.
ピックだね。
Sato-san said as she looked at it from the side.
ピック？ギターとかベースを弾くときに使うやつだよ。金田が落としていったのかな。確かにロックっぽい格好してるけど、でも楽器とかやってそうな感じじゃないけどな。
Sato-san tilted her head in thought. I didn't know what to make of that, or what she meant by her assertion that he looked like a rocker. I knew of the music genre rock, but I didn't have a good opinion of it. It was loud, violent. What did it mean to be rock and roll in the context of daily life? Rock? Huh. I muttered the words to myself as I recalled the look Kaneda gave me. There was no way I would have known how that single word I actually muttered would have such an impact on my life. What? I was waiting for cinematic. What? What? Oh, okay. I guess no cinematic. It all began with that single phone call.
ケイ、電話よ。
My mom knocked on my door, then handed me the phone. Huh? From who? School? If it was someone I knew, they would have just called my cell. If they were calling our home phone, it had to be someone related to my school.
違うみたい。
I had no idea in that case. I thought it might have been my last school regarding my quitting, but based on my mom's reaction, it didn't seem like it.
八木原さんって方から知ってる？
I hadn't heard that name before. What could it be?
ケイも知らないのなら、お母さんが要件を聞いてあげようか？
No, that's fine, but thanks. I closed the door behind her, looked at the blinking hold button, then pressed talk again.
もしもし、対馬圭君だよね。
Sushi Mama? An exceptionally friendly voice came through the speaker. Yes, that's right. And you are?
俺は八木原。この名前覚えてないかな。
No, sorry, it doesn't sound familiar.
そうかそうか。まあ仕方ないさ。君が送った小説の賞があったろ。それの審査員をやってたものだよ。
Ah, is that so? I breathed a sigh of relief as I replied, as this didn't seem like terrible news at least.
俺は普段は音楽関係の仕事をしていてね。事務所が市内にあるからってことで、市の文化人として審査員に呼ばれたんだが、小説なんかまともに読んだことがないから困ったよ。それでも君の文章は俺の心に来るものがあってね。聖賞に押させてもらった。結果は副賞になってしまったけれど、でも俺にとっては君が一番だったんだ。
Ah, wow, I see. Well, thank you for that. I didn't expect to be complimented like that and got a little bashful. And due to that, my words may have lost some authenticity. I regret not being able to thank him more properly, but the man who called himself Yagihara didn't lose a beat.
それで、ちょっと個人的に君に原稿を依頼できないかと思ってね。
But what do you mean, post?
今度のゴールデンウィークにうちのバンドがちょっと遠征してライブを行うんだ。急な話で済まないが、それに同行してレポートを書いてくれないか？それとも何かもう予定があるかい？
I don't have plans, but you really want me to? I've never really been professionally, and I don't know much about your band, or rather anything really.
大丈夫。そんなのはこっちも承知で頼んでるんだ。いや、むしろそれがいいんだよ。何も知らない若者が初めてこういう世界に触れたその感情とかをね、率直に文章にしてほしい。もともとプロのライターに書いてもらうつもりで考えていたんだけれど、 どうもそれじゃ面白くないと思っていてね。そこで審査員として読んだ君の文章を思い出したんだ。
I see.
ギャランティーはプロの相場と同じだけ渡す。もちろん旅費などの経費はこちらで負担する。受け取った文章はプロモーションに使わせてもらう。と言っても君はそんなことを気にすることはない。無理に褒めたりする必要はなくて、純粋に感じたことをそのまま文章にぶつけてくれればそれでいいんだ。初めて何かに出会った時の気持ちというものは一度しかない特別なものだから、それが欲しい。どうだろう、なかなか貴重な体験だと思うぜ。
Well, Egihara-san's persuasive passion and his totally unexpected request left me a little overwhelmed.
君に同行してもらうつもりのバンドもね、なかなか面白い連中なんだ。才能もある。君みたいに才能がある若者が彼らと会えばきっと触発されるものがあるはずだ。対馬くん、人生は感動だよ。心を揺り動かす衝撃が人生を変える。君も人生を変えてみたいと思わないか？
My life. Those words didn't necessarily rouse me, because I wasn't leading the kind of life I desperately wanted to change. Even if I took detours, I was still lucky to be where I was. It wasn't as though I had the struggles and pain the rest of the world did. But for some reason Okay, I'll do it. He gave my answer. I sighed the moment I hung up the phone. My mouth was dry, my back cold with sweat. My pulse was racing and I could feel my heart in my chest. Took the job. It might have been better to sleep on it before accepting. If I would be gone for multiple days, I discussed it with my parents. Yagihara-san said he would come introduce himself, and I didn't think my mom would oppose, but dealing with the aftermath might be a little awkward. I wasn't thinking clearly. Maybe it was his persistent nature, or perhaps his words resonated on an emotional level. But I wasn't about to call him and back out on it. Going along, backstage with some group of musicians I didn't know, and then sending the material I write about it. After mulling it over, I flipped over my laptop and started researching Yagihara-san. I didn't catch his full name, but I checked the writing contest sign-up site and got a lot of hits from the name on there. He was more famous than I thought. Yagihara-san himself was a musician, and he was a member of the rock band Star Generation, apparently. They were huge at the time, and there was one exceptional guitarist from the band who was now playing famously around the world. I had no idea about the band name or the guitarist, but just based on this information, he was really incredible. I also read that Yagihara-san's band didn't sign to a major label, but started their own and released their material through it. At first, it was only Star Generation on the label, but now there were quite a few signed on, and Yagihara-san was managing the company full-time. The label's name was Star Records, and like Yagihara-san said, the office was in my city. The address looked like it was right by the station. I had probably passed by it tons of times. I had no idea a company like that was right around the corner. Is that Kaneda guy that the guitarist? It at least relieved me that he didn't seem untrustworthy. It was a public site, and looking at the rest of it, I saw the artists associated with his label. I didn't know a single one. I hardly ever watched TV, so I rarely got such information. But then again, the band seemed to focus mainly on doing live shows at venues. I doubted watching TV would have told me anything about them anyway. Oh, records! Oh, yeah, tape. Yeah, tape, guys. Yeah, tape. I didn't know which band I would be tagging along with, but I suppose it was going to be one of them here. I would be with a band who had released their own material, gathered a fan base, and were living the life of musicians. Despite having never stepping foot in a music venue myself, there were pictures of a live performance. It was a dark room and a group of young guys stood soaked in sweat with mics and their instruments on an illuminated stage. I was about to come into contact with an unknown world and not just interact with it, but report on it. I couldn't handle looking at the pictures right now. I closed my laptop and took a deep breath. Yeah, because, I didn't recognize Kaneda. I was getting the jitters all of a sudden. Was this a feeling of becoming an adult? Well, let's see. You just graduated middle school. Let's see. No, it's not. But dang, I had never worked before. In that sense, I was way behind Ozaki-san. She had already stepped out and turned her everything into money. I was technically her senior, yet here I was speaking out about my first real job. Kind of embarrassing. Deep and anxious thought, another heavy sigh escaped me. Oh, this is bright. Very bright. Eyes. Cinematic? No.
はじめまして。俺がスターレコード社長の八木原だ。
5 minutes before arranged time, I showed up at the office, and Yagihara-san himself was there to welcome me. The small office was in a building with many units and multiple desks, and shelves were placed haphazardly. It looked like about 2 or 3 others worked there. And because it was so late, I suppose that it was only Yagihara-san still in the office. Pleased to meet you. I'm Kei Tsushima.
こんな時間にすまないね。
Oh, I should thank you for rearranging your schedule. He wanted to meet me in person, but I had school on the day he gave me. He was busy during the morning, so we agreed to meet after I got out of class, hence the odd hour of the night. I was nervous regarding what kind of person he was, and while he was indeed the president of a company, he had his sunglasses on indoors and wore a long coat. Wesker? He was clearly unlike a normal businessman. I just told myself that the music industry was unlike others, and then suddenly...
せっかくここに来てもらったんだけれど、移動しようか。
Huh?
今日は週末ってことで、近くで知り合いのライブイベントがあってね。ライブにはもう間に合わないけど、打ち上げには参加できる。取材ってわけじゃないが、ちょっと君にも見てもらおうかと思ってね。
You mean right now? It was an unexpected development.
そう。ライブに出演した連中が参加するんだ。普通に生活しているとミュージシャンなんかステージの上とか人前に出ている姿ばかり見ているだろうから、他の面も見てもらおうと思ってさ。
Can I really just go to something like a private party? I was nervous enough meeting Yagihara-san in person, so I was nowhere near ready to dive into a rock band's after party.
何も心配する必要はないよ。あ、もちろんアルコールは頼んだらダメだからな。連れて行った俺の責任が問われてしまう。
As he said that, he got up to leave the office. I hadn't even given him my approval, but I found myself following him.
サンデーガールっていうバンド知ってるか？
Nope. After he had told the driver of the taxi where we needed to go, Yagihara-san asked me, Sunday girl? Is that like girl next door or something?
何年か前には紅白にも出たし、いくつか曲もヒットさせてたと思うんだが。
I think I know the name. I knew close to nothing, but I did know them. One of their hits was the theme song on a TV show, and I heard the cover by a female vocalist at the convenience stores, and I think the same song was in a gum commercial or something. I remember seeing them on some ad, and despite their name, the fact that they were all men left a weird impression on me.
好きだったかい？
No, not really. The vocalist was a little much for me.
そうか。
He seemed to enjoy that response as he goofballed. I haven't heard the name recently. I wonder if they disbanded. I have said it to myself.
世間はそう思ったりするんだよな。テレビに出てたやつが出なくなると、大体やめたとか言われる。下手すると死んだと勘違いされたりもする。でも活動は普通に続けてるんだぜ。新曲も書いてるし、ライブをやれば相変わらず客だって呼べる。こういうのがミュージシャンの難しいところだな。
I suppose so, but why did they stop appearing on TV? I started wondering why he brought them up as I inquired further.
自分たちでレーベルを立ち上げたんだよ。って言っても分かりにくいかな。メジャーレーベルとインディーズレーベルの違いとか、そもそもレーベルって何か知ってるか？
I certainly hear the word often, but I'm honestly not entirely sure. When I looked up Yagihara-san online, I saw the word a bunch, and I had a vague idea of what it meant as I read, but hearing it asked directly from someone in the industry, I didn't feel confident I had the comprehension to answer properly.
そうだろうな。
Yagihara-san chuckled. It didn't seem like he felt like explaining it to me. In other words, Sunday Girl went from being pro to amateur and stopped being on TV?
いやいや、インディーズに所属していたって音楽で飯が食えていればプロだよ。レコード協会に入っている大きなところがメジャーで、そうでない小さなところがインディーズってだけのことさ。そりゃ大手事務所に所属してメジャーレーベルと契約すれば大規模なプロモーションを打てるから、デビューしたばっかりなのにメディアに出られてすぐ商売になるんだろう。でもインディーズで活動していたって客を呼べてそれで食えればプロだ。それにインディーズに所属したままだって実力と運が良ければメジャーと同じくらい売れることだってできる。例えば
Egehara-san then listed off a number of bands. There were some I knew, or most young people, like female singers, bands that I just heard through word of mouth, even some famous rock bands that had success abroad that I had heard through the grapevine.
彼らもインディーズだよ。そして我がスターレコードも世間でいうインディーズレーベルだ。メジャーみたいに大規模に売ってやることはできないが、メジャーより自由にやれるし、マージンも安い。それに多少はプロモーション活動を手伝ってやれる。君に今回依頼する原稿もこのプロモーションの業務で使わせてもらう。
Sunday Girl Star Records? Is that what it's gonna be? I see. You're in the indie band Star Generation, right?
おいおい、過去形にするなって。一応まだ解散はしてないんだぜ。うちの会社のオフィシャルサイトを見れば、ちゃんと所属アーティストのところに記載されてる。
Oh, sorry.
まあ仕方ないさ。とにかくね、音楽業界ってのはテレビによく出て誰でも知ってるアーティストの世界だけが全てじゃない。我々みたいなつつましく活動している、食えてるんだか食えてないんだかわからないような連中が作り出す世界もあるのさ。これから我々が向かっている打ち上げにはそういう連中が集まっている。今度君にバンドの密着取材をしてもらうけど、そのバンド以外の連中も見ておいてほしいんだ。
Oh, okay, I see. So you mean by work is already starting? Nervously, I sat up straight in my seat.
まあ、そう堅苦しくならないでもいいさ。ちなみに、この打ち上げは今言ったサンデーガールのイベントの打ち上げなんだ。彼らは俺の友人でね。着いたら君もリーダーに紹介してやろう。君が好みの声じゃないと言ったボーカルその人ですまないけど。
He snickered as he glanced over at me. That remark kind of froze me in place, and I couldn't reply. The taxi eventually arrived at what looked like a run-of-the-mill pub. Ihara-san told a staff member the name of the group, and she led us to a reserved room in the back. They had already been drinking and eating, I had gathered, because I heard men and women alike shouting behind the door. I was so nervous I was getting dizzy. In a place where a crew of good friends were celebrating the success of their show, I, who had never even properly listened to rock music before, was about to barge in, and I'd be introduced as the reporter Yagihara-san hired. Furthermore, this band was famous enough to have been on TV extensively. Just imagining the implications was making me weak-kneed, but I told myself this was work. Came in here for a job, and I couldn't look like a nervous, unreliable wreck. I had to keep it together and make a good impression. Despite still being a student, I was going to get paid for this, and that meant I was a pro. Yep, definitely. I was now determined, resolute, although tense on the other hand. Yagihara-san walked in like he owned the place.
おっす、お疲れ様。
Yagihara-san strode in after his casual greeting and was met with lots of yo's, wayos, and other odd sounds. I followed him in and everyone turned to look at me. I told myself to act like a pro, but at the end of the day, I had my school bag and was on my way home after class. I was obviously a student. They were all surely questioning my being here. People before me all had wild hairstyles and outfits, but fortunately, I had gotten accustomed to that at school. Hello, evening, everyone. I tried to give a similar greeting like Yagihara-san. Perhaps they simply didn't care about me, but I was relieved no one had an odd reaction.
Yagi-san! こっちこっち!
The man sitting in the back of the table called out to him.
よー、津島君、おいで。
Yagihara-san waved me along with him as we passed by some already pretty drunk guys toward the back. I mumbled a few "excuse me" coming throughs along the way.
彼がサンデーガールのリーダーであるリョウだ。
He first introduced the man.
彼は津島君。この間話していた企画を引き受けてもらったんだ。
He then introduced me.
どうも。
Ryo grinned as he greeted me. Nice to meet you. I'm Kei Tsushima. I knew this guy. I'd seen him before. The face I had seen on TV was right before me. He had a wart on one cheek, right? That wart was kind of his trademark. Ew. I didn't know much about him, and I wasn't planning on getting all giddy because he was famous, but I was still worried a normal guy like me didn't belong here. I never got nervous during tests or presentations at school, but those were within familiar subjects. I had never met any stars or celebrities, so I couldn't trust myself to perform here. Or so I thought. I soon realized I was actually pretty collected. I could handle this. It didn't matter that I was in an unknown environment. Now in a good headspace, I'd calmed down enough to observe my surroundings. Rio was a little heavier with more facial hair than I remembered from seeing him on TV because he probably didn't shave. His face was beet red from drinking. He had all kinds of accessories, but just a normal t-shirt and jeans on. And the wart on his cheek, it actually looked a lot grosser up close. Yeah, warts are not... I don't know why you would not take care of that. Maybe a star on stage, but right now just seemed like a normal guy.
随分美形だな。記事なんか書かせるよりステージに上げてデビューさせた方がいいんじゃないの？あれ？もしかして八木さん、そういうストーリーを狙ってる？
何言ってるんだ。純粋に文章に惚れ込んだんだよ。それより今日は勝手に連れてきちゃったけど大丈夫かい？
もちろん。というか、ノーなんか言わせる気ないでしょ。
Rio laughed,
よく見ていきなよ。
which he said to me. Will do, thank you. Felt like that came more naturally than my initial greeting. Yagihara-san had something to talk to him about and sat next to him. I had no open seat.
おい、そこをちょっと詰めて。
I'm fine, I'll just sit over there. Rio tried to get me a spot next to the scantily clad lady next to him, but I politely declined and headed for the opposite side of the room. It was obvious that Rio was the center of attention here, with lots of bustling and chatter around him, but the other side of the table seemed more mellow, the people just sitting quietly and drinking. Perhaps they didn't know one another. As I started moving, I then realized that for this job, it was probably better to talk to Rio, but I then convinced myself that observing from a distance out of the way wasn't a bad idea either. Mind if I sit here? The guy sitting drinking alone on the edge moved over for me and I sat down. With me out of the picture, snacking on some stuff on the table, things really started bustling with Rio at the center. Yaro-san, now with a big smile and beer, bumped shoulders with Rio as they both laughed out loud. Laughter permeated the room, likely from his conditioning as a vocalist. Two young girls then approached Rio and one pulled a wallet out of her bag as they spoke to him. Rio nodded heartily, then took the white wallet from her as she handed him a pen. He then signed her wallet. He finished his autograph, then moved in close to the girl and gave her a kiss on the cheek. She didn't resist at all. After that, the other girl handed Rio a handkerchief.
これ君が頼んだんだろう。
I turned to the side and the guy next to me handed me a glass of tea that he took from the waiter. Oh yes, thank you. I bowed my head slightly as I took the glass, then looked back toward Rio. He had the girl in his arms and was kissing her on the lips this time. He was quite bold doing that in front of
び
everyone.
っくりしたかい。
I sat watching Rio and the girl in awe as the guy next to me leaned
あ
over.
の人はね、いつもこうなんだ。外で出待ちしているファンの女の子に適当に声をかけてね。奥さんもいるのによくやるよ。
Oh, I feel like a theme is going on here. He rolled his eyes as he ate a piece of chicken and washed it down with beer. Which meant were the other girls here not musicians or staff, but just regular fans? Upon closer inspection, I saw that the members of Sunday Girl all had girls fawning over them, laughing at their jokes, whereas other places in the room just had groups of guys chatting and drinking. So did the girls only flock to the famous rockers and the other guys here were left out to just drink with one another? I then saw that Yagihara-san had moved away from Rio and was in intense conversation with one of the guys off to the side. A group of guys looked like they were having fun in their own way, but the Sunday Girl members had women all around them, laughing and shouting. The women didn't even glance at the other guys. The woman who had her wallet on got up, maybe to use the restroom, and passed behind me. She had her bag out to the side, bumping into me. Oh, sorry. I tried to move out of her way, but she barely glanced at me as she passed by silently. It was like she was a different person with Rio. I may as well have been a rock on the street with the way she looked at me. I wasn't even mad, it was more of a surprise. This world seemed so raw to me. I had no idea that there had never been anyone like this around me. It was basically culture shock. If you were famous, even if you weren't fandom, you could basically be a king with a harem. This is the power of music? Was this what it meant to be a rock star? How was I supposed to feel about this scene? Oh. I don't really like this. I'm actually a little is this the power of music? Was this the proof that music was able to capture people's hearts? The girls surely liked Sunday Girls' music and it captivated them. That's why they were fawning over the band like this, I suppose. And that's why they were happy to have their stuff signed and get kissed. Yeah, definitely, yep. I couldn't really comprehend it, but musicians had a kind of rough image in females' minds, so the fans surely liked that about them too. So if I happened to meet the artist of something I liked, I probably wouldn't act this way. I'd be happy, of course, but some authors I liked were men and were long dead, so I wouldn't swoon over them. Even if I respected an artist for their work, I had never thought about getting to know them on a personal level. I mean, fans know a lot about the artist, but the artist knew nothing about the fans. So if every fan who saw their work wanted to get friendly with them, wouldn't that be a hassle? In that sense, I suppose I like the fan mentality. Either way, I had to start reporting on this world, so it would probably be best not to have too many assumptions. I was sure there was something in bands and music that I didn't comprehend. I quit letting my mind wander. I was going to be traveling with the band very soon, but if I had to be in places like this, I wasn't exactly looking forward to it now. At the end of the day, though, it was work and my feelings didn't matter. But if it turned out that I simply couldn't get into rock or bands in general, what was I to do? Yagihara-san told me I could write however I wanted, but he seemed intent on using it for promotion, so if I wrote that this elicited no reaction and could never see myself fitting in, then wouldn't that be unusable? Writing for someone else was going to be hard. I hadn't even started and was already sighing in exhaustion. It seemed like the guy next to me heard it and looked over at me.
つまらないかい
No, I smiled and shook my head, but he didn't buy it.
いいんだよ俺もこういう席は苦手だ
He said it with a straight face as he gulped down his drink. What was this guy's status here? He'd been drinking alone the whole time, and his clothes and hair were normal, almost bland next to the other guys. He was giving off a subdued vibe, too. Also, it kind of seemed as if he didn't want to talk to anyone at all. I took a piece of chicken from the plate and popped it in my mouth. For some reason, he turned to me and intently watched me swallow my food. It was pretty tasty, so I went for another one, but he continued staring. It was hard to eat like this. But what's the matter?
いや想像していたんだ
Imagining what?
ブラジルで生まれた鳥の一生だ暗い工場で卵として生まれマスクをした男たちに選別されそれからは狭いケージの中で流れてくる餌をついばむだけの生活希望もなく愛されることもなく祈りも通じず心が死に絶えるそしてある程度体が大きくなると無慈悲に殺され毛をむしられ地球の裏側まで運ばれる
That is, pretty dark. He pointed at the plate of chicken I was eating from.
ほら君が食べていた鳥だ静かに佇む絶望の肉だ部屋の向こうではかつて売れっ子で今は落ち目のミュージシャンが気持ちを紛らわすように女と絡んで笑うこっちには絶望のうちに死んだ鳥の唐揚げがある
Dude, you have some weird
いい
thoughts.
取り合わせだと思わないか
You weren't even done talking? Holy moly. Fuck. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah. I mumbled half-heartedly and looked at the fried chicken I had in my chopsticks. Meat of despair. Delicious. What a horrible thing to say right now. That's delicious. Don't worry. So anyways, I'm gonna end the episode here, everybody. This is interesting. I wonder if the choosing of the path really matter. Who knows? I'm not sure, but I'm actually curious where this story is going because I'm very confused. Yeah, I'm very confused. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Musicus. If you guys didn't, please smash that like button, subscribe down below for more awesome videos. Don't forget to ring that little bell to get notifications of my uploads. Thank you everybody for watching this episode, and you guys will hear me in the next video. Goodbye!